The laughter of the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber echoed with laughter. Hundreds of alien delegates sat around the shining crystal table, their eyes glowing, wings fluttering, tails flicking, and tendrils twisting in amusement. At the center of the hall stood a single human, calm and silent, his black uniform reflecting the light of alien suns. His name was Commander Ryan Holt. Representing the United Earth Alliance, SWIM, laughed a green-scaled ambassador from the Trinac species, her voice filled with disbelief. Humans claim they can swim? Another, a tall insectoid from the Kelrin Empire, buzzed in mocking tones. Your kind can barely survive your own gravity world, and you talk about entering the oceans of Taraxis 7? The laughter grew louder, echoing through the great hall like thunder. Commander Holt stood still. His eyes steady, he did not shout, he did not defend. He simply raised a small hologram device and pressed a button. A blue light appeared in the air, showing images of humans diving deep into Earth's oceans, swimming with whales and exploring the cold darkness below Antarctica. The aliens stared, their laughter fading. These, Holt said calmly, are human oceans. They are filled with life, pressure, and danger. Yet we learned to swim before we learned to walk. Water shaped our world, the Kelrin delegate buzzed again. That is nothing compared to the seas of Taraxis 7. Even our submarines cannot survive there. The pressure would crush your fragile bodies in seconds. Commander Holt smiled. A calm, strange smile. Then let us try, he said. The room went silent. For a moment, only the hum of the council hall could be heard. The Trinac's ambassador tilted her head, scales shimmering. You want permission to enter Taraxis 7's oceans? For what purpose? To die? Holt's voice was quiet but strong. To learn, he said, and to show you what humans really are. The council members whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads, others smiling at the thought of human arrogance. They finally approved his request, partly from curiosity, partly to witness a spectacle they were sure would end in failure. As Commander Holt left the hall, the laughter began again, but this time not as loud, not as confident, because deep inside a small feeling had been born among the aliens. A strange mix of doubt and curiosity. Outside the massive station, Earth's delegation ship, Voyager's Reach, waited in orbit. Its hull gleamed under the twin suns, and inside a team of scientists, engineers, and divers prepared for the most dangerous mission ever attempted by humankind. Among them was Dr. Lena Cruz, ocean biologist and deep-sea explorer. She watched the stars outside the window, her fingers resting on the glass. "Do you really think we can do it?" she whispered. Commander Holt stood beside her, his gaze firm. "We've survived fire, ice, and vacuum, Lena," he said. "Water won't stop us." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien news channels buzzed with mockery. Headlines appeared everywhere. Humans challenge the deep, prepare for their last dive. Primitive species plans to enter Taraxis oceans. Memes, jokes, and animated parodies spread through the galactic networks. To most of the galaxy, it was entertainment. To humans, it was a challenge. The next day, the Voyager's Reach jumped through hyperspace heading toward Taraxis 7. The ship's engines glowed blue as it sliced through the darkness. The crew was silent, every one of them knowing they might not return. But none of them turned back. As the ship entered orbit around Taraxis 7, the view took their breath away. The planet was a massive sphere of swirling blue and silver. No continents, no land, only endless oceans stretching across the world. Lightning danced across the storms that moved like living things. "Pressure levels?" Holt asked. 10 times higher than predicted," Dr. Cruz replied, her voice steady but tense. "Even our reinforced hull might not handle a full dive." Holt nodded slowly. "We're not here to prove our technology," he said. "We're here to prove us." On the alien observation satellite nearby, thousands of species watched the feed. From noble empires to pirate clans, all tuned in to see humanity fail. But as the human ship deployed its descent module, sleek, dark, and human-made, some alien observers leaned forward, curious. Inside the module, 3 humans checked their suits, oxygen levels, and sonar readings. "Remember," Holt said through the intercom, "no fear, no hesitation. Humanity didn't come this far to drown." The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The module dropped, slicing into the thick blue ocean like a bullet. Waves rose and lightning flashed. The alien observers laughed again, believing the humans lost beneath the waves. But deep below the surface, the human lights flickered on, and what they saw made every breath freeze. In the darkness, something moved. Something massive, ancient, and awake. Commander Holt whispered into his mic, "We are not alone down here." The transmission ended with static, and across the galaxy, silence replaced laughter. Ocean World, Tyraxis 7. The descent module shuddered as it sank through layers of crushing water. Outside the thick glass, the sunlight faded, turning from silver to deep blue, then to total darkness. Inside, the humans sat quietly, their helmets glowing faintly, showing calm faces that hid rising tension. Commander Holt's voice came through the comms. Steady and low. Stay focused, remember. This is what they said we couldn't do. Dr. Lena Cruz watched her screen, lines of data scrolling fast, pressure rising, external hull stress at 70%. Internal system stable, she reported. Her heart pounded, but her tone stayed controlled. Above them, in orbit, thousands of alien eyes watched. The Galactic Council had sent a fleet of drones to capture every second of humanity's so-called final dive. The alien commentators spoke in mocking tones. The humans have entered the third layer of Tyraxis 7. Any second now their ship will implode, one announced. But seconds turned to minutes and minutes turned to silence. Nothing happened inside the human module. Holt looked at his team. "We've reached the depth of the Kelran subs," he said. "But they never came back from here. Why?" one of the divers asked. Dr. Cruz glanced at the sonar screen. "Because something down here moves," she said softly. The sonar pinged once, twice, then again. A massive object appeared for a moment on the edge of the scan. Too big to be a creature, too fast to be rock. It disappeared into the dark before they could analyze it. Then came the sound. A low rumbling echo that vibrated through the hull, like the growl of a giant deep beast. The crew froze, staring at one another. Even Holt felt the cold touch of fear, but he hid it behind calm eyes. "Keep recording," he ordered. The cameras turned toward the dark window. And then the humans saw it. A faint light glowed in the distance, swirling patterns of blue and green moving through the black water. It looked like a living current, but it moved with purpose. "Is that a city?" Dr. Cruz whispered before anyone could answer. The module shook violently. Something had brushed against them. Metal groaned, lights flickered, and alarms flashed red above in orbit. The alien audience gasped. The Trinax ambassador leaned forward, her voice shaking. "Are they still alive?" Her aide hesitated. "Yes, Ambassador, the human vessel remains intact." No one spoke for several seconds. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy watched humans in silence. Inside the module, Holt steadied himself. "Status. Minor damage," Dr. Cruz replied, "but the sensors are picking up." "Structures, artificial ones." "Structures?" Holt repeated. She nodded, her eyes wide. Ancient ruins deep under the ocean. Older than the council itself. They approached slowly, shining floodlights across enormous stone towers covered in coral and bioluminescent vines. Alien carvings stretched across the walls, symbols no one had ever seen. Holt activated the camera drone, sending it outside. The small orb floated out into the water, its light cutting through the black. The moment it touched the ruins, something responded. A pulse of light spread across the towers, bright enough to blind them. The readings spiked, energy waves rippling through the sea. "Commander," Dr. Cruz shouted, "the ruins! They're alive!" On the galactic broadcast, millions watched in awe. The mocking laughter had died completely, replaced by whispers. What did the humans awaken? "Are they controlling the deep?" "Impossible," said one alien scientist, his eyes trembling. "Those depths are cursed," but the humans continued. They sent signal after signal, studying the structure, recording every reaction, and then through the static of their comms came a deep voice, not human, not mechanical, but alive. "Who disturbs the silent depths?" It said. The crew froze. The sound didn't come from the radio. It came through the water itself, vibrating in their bones. Commander Holt raised his head slowly. "This is Commander Ryan Holt of Earth," he said, his voice steady. "We come in peace." There was silence for a long moment. Then the voice rumbled again. "Humans, Earth, you are not the ones who fled the light," Dr. Cruz whispered. "It knows about us before they could ask more." The module lights dimmed, sensors flickered, and all systems shut down. Outside, glowing shapes began to form. Dozens of them, Huge silhouettes with shining eyes moving around the ruins. "Commander," one of the divers said quietly. "We're surrounded." Holt took a deep breath. "Record everything," he said. "The galaxy will see this." The creatures moved closer, circling the human vessel, their bodies shimmering with color, half fish, half energy, their eyes bright with intelligence. One stopped in front of the window, staring at Holt. It blinked once, then turned and swam deeper into the ruins. Leaving a trail of glowing light, Dr. Cruz spoke softly. "It wants us to follow." Holt nodded. "Then we follow." Above, in orbit, the alien fleet watched in disbelief. "Their vessel is diving deeper," one observer said. "Deeper than any living thing has gone," the Trinac's ambassador whispered. "They should be dead." Her aide looked pale, and yet they keep going. As the module sank lower into the dark heart of Taraxis 7, the ruins opened like gates, revealing a world untouched for millennia. And far below, in the glowing abyss, a massive shadow stirred, larger than mountains, older than history. Commander Holt whispered, "Something knows we're here." And then the feed cut off, plunging the galaxy into silence once more. The depths awaken. The descent module moved deeper and deeper, swallowed by an ocean no species had ever explored. The light from the ruins faded behind them, replaced by an endless darkness so thick it felt alive. Inside, the crew's breathing echoed in their helmets, slow and careful. Dr. Cruz's voice broke the silence. "Commander, we've crossed the 9,000-meter mark." The screens flickered, showing strange patterns in the water, shapes that moved like shadows just beyond the light. Holt stared through the window, his hand resting on the glass. "What's the temperature?" "-20 degrees Celsius, but it's rising," she replied, confusion in her voice. "Rising?" "Yes, Commander, something down there is producing heat." Suddenly, the sonar pinged, a rhythmic pulse. Like a heartbeat, 1, 2, 3, pause. Then again, stronger. The sound made the hull vibrate, sending chills through everyone's spine. "Is that mechanical?" one diver whispered. Dr. Cruz shook her head slowly. "No, it's alive." Above in orbit, alien scientists stared at their monitors. "Their ship is deeper than any of our drones have gone," one muttered. "And they're still transmitting." The council hall was silent. Not a single alien dared to speak. On every galactic channel, the broadcast showed humanity's tiny vessel drifting into an abyss that seemed infinite. Then it appeared, at first just a shimmer of light in the black, then a shape, massive, curved, and covered in bioluminescent lines that pulsed like veins. "Dear God," Dr. Cruz whispered, "that's not a creature, that's a city." The module's external lights reflected off enormous domes of living coral and crystal. Inside those domes, dark figures moved, slow, graceful, ancient. "Commander," came a trembling voice from one of the divers. "I think they're watching us." Before Holt could respond, the same deep voice from before returned. "Humans of Earth," it rumbled through the water. "You have entered the depth of memory." Dr. Cruz's eyes widened. "It knows our world's name," Holt spoke clearly. "We mean no harm, we came to understand." There was silence, then a soft hum that felt like laughter. "To understand, you must remember," the voice said. "And to remember, you must see." A flash of light filled the cabin, and suddenly the crew's vision blurred. The walls of the module vanished, and they stood, not in their seats, but floating in the water itself, breathing as if they were born there. The alien city glowed around them, every coral spire shining with color. Strange beings swam past, tall, luminous, with fins that shimmered like silk, their eyes glowing with emotion. Images formed in the water, memories of a time long before the Council, before the stars were colonized. They saw creatures that looked like the deep dwellers, building cities, singing through the oceans, creating harmony with their world. Then came the war. The images turned dark, the water filled with fire and destruction. Alien ships rained death upon the seas. The deep dwellers fought back but were forced to retreat into the abyss, sealing themselves away. "The surface burned," the deep voice said, echoing through their minds. And we fell into silence. Dr. Cruz reached out, her hand touching a swirl of light that formed into the image of Earth. "You remember us," she whispered. The voice responded, "Not remember, recognize." "You carry the same spark." Commander Holt looked around, realization dawning. "They're not just aliens," he said softly. "They're survivors like us." But before anyone could ask more, the ground beneath them trembled. The entire city shook, coral towers cracking, energy pulses flickering in chaos. The Leviathan wakes, the voice warned. It senses intruders. The human snapped back into the module, alarms blaring. Pressure spike! Dr. Cruz shouted, something's moving beneath us fast. On the galactic broadcast, static filled the feed for a moment, then cleared. What appeared made billions of viewers gasp. A creature larger than a mountain rose from the deep, a massive leviathan with glowing eyes like suns. Its body coiled around the ruins, ancient scars glowing with power. Commander, a diver whispered, voice trembling. That thing could crush planets, the creature roared, the sound shaking the water and sending waves even to the surface. Every alien watching felt it through their bones. Holt clenched his fists. Steady, he ordered, his voice calm. Don't panic. The Leviathan turned its gaze toward them, and for a long moment it simply watched, Dr. Cruz whispered. It's studying us. Then slowly it moved closer, stopping just meters from the human vessel. One eye filled the entire window, an endless sea of light and wisdom. Why do you return? The voice thundered. Holt took a deep breath. Because we never left, he said. The Leviathan stared for several long seconds. Then its glow dimmed. The currents shifted, and the pressure around them dropped slightly. Then you are not prey, it said. You are kin of the deep. Above, in the council's main hall, the ambassadors sat in stunned silence. Their sensors confirmed what no one had ever done. Humans had made contact with a being older than the galaxy itself. Impossible, whispered the Trinax ambassador. The deep god spoke to them. Inside the module, Holt slowly exhaled. Dr. Cruz, he said quietly. We came here to prove humans could swim. She smiled weakly, her eyes shining. I think we just swam into legend. The module rose slowly as the creature drifted back into the abyss. But before it vanished, the voice spoke one last time. The depths remember humanity, it said, and the galaxy will too. Static filled the screen as the feed ended, leaving the entire galaxy in silence once more. The Leviathan's shadow. The galaxy could not believe what it had seen across 1,000 worlds. The broadcast replayed, the moment the ancient Leviathan spoke to humans, the moment the impossible became real. Alien leaders gathered in silent panic. The Galactic Council chamber, once filled with laughter, now trembled under the weight of quiet fear. The Trinax ambassador slammed her scaled fist against the table. This cannot be, she shouted, her golden eyes glowing with fury. The deep god has never spoken to any species, not even us who ruled this galaxy for millennia. Beside her, the insectoid Kelrin delegate clicked his mandibles nervously. But it spoke to them, he hissed. It called them kin. A silence followed. A silence heavier than any sound on the main screen. The live feed from Taraxis 7 flickered back. The human module was ascending slowly, its outer hull damaged but intact inside. Commander Holt and his team watched their instruments. The pressure was stabilizing. The light growing brighter as they rose, Dr. Cruz leaned back, exhaustion in her eyes but pride in her voice. Commander, she said softly. They'll never mock us again. Holt smiled faintly. They'll still try, he replied, but not with laughter. Above the ocean, alien observation ships recorded every second. The Council's command fleet floated in orbit, their captains silent. Some wanted to destroy the human vessel before it returned to the surface, fearing what it had found, but none dared act, because the Leviathan's shadow still moved beneath the waves. Deep below, unseen by most sensors, the great creature swam slowly, its glowing body stretching for miles. It followed the human vessel, silent, watchful, protective. The ocean currents whispered in its wake, and even the storms above seemed to calm as it passed. Commander, Dr. Cruz said, watching the sonar. The Leviathan is following us. Holt nodded slowly. Let it. But why? She asked. He looked at her, then at the window, where faint light shimmered from below. Maybe, he said softly. It wants to make sure the galaxy knows we didn't steal its respect, we earned it. As the module neared the surface, a beam of sunlight broke through the waves. It was the first real light they had seen in hours. When they breached the water, the ship's hull cracked and groaned, but it held. The ocean of Taraxis 7 spread endlessly around them, glowing faintly with bioluminescent plankton. For a moment it was peaceful, almost beautiful. Then the comms came alive with alien voices. Human vessel. This is the Galactic Council, a stern voice declared. You are to surrender your data and power cores immediately. Holt exchanged a glance with Dr. Cruz. They're afraid, she whispered. He nodded, pressing the comm switch. Council command. This is Commander Holt of Earth, he said calmly. You'll get our data when we're ready to share it, not before. A long pause followed. Defiance will not be tolerated, the voice replied. Holt smiled faintly. You tolerated our laughter, he said. Now tolerate our truth. The alien fleets aimed their weapons, surrounding the small human module like sharks around prey. But then the sea moved. A shadow rose beneath the waves, massive, endless, glowing with ancient light. The Leviathan breached the surface, rising like a living mountain, water cascading down its immense form. The alien ships trembled, their sensors overloaded, their captain speechless. The creature's eyes turned toward the Council fleet, its voice booming across the sky. Touch them, and the depths will remember your arrogance. Every ship's system shut down instantly. Weapons dead, engines silent. The water glowed brighter, reflecting off the Leviathan's scales like stars. In orbit, the Council members watched in horror. The Trinax ambassador whispered, That thing, it obeys them. No, said the Kelran delegate, his voice hollow. It respects them. Down below, Holt stood at the window, staring up at the colossal being. It looked down at him, eyes vast as oceans. You have reminded the deep of courage, it said. The galaxy has forgotten it. But you have not. Dr. Cruz pressed her hand against the glass, whispering, Thank you. The Leviathans glowed dim gently. Do not thank me, human, it said. Remember me. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling through eternity, it sank back into the depths. The waves calmed, the skies cleared, and the alien ships floated helplessly, powerless in its wake. In the council chamber, the silence returned. But it was not the silence of peace, it was the silence of realization. Humanity, the so-called fragile race, had spoken to a god beneath the sea, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Commander Holt's voice transmitted one last message to every listening world. Humans don't conquer with power, he said. We survive, we adapt, and when the universe laughs, we dive deeper, across the stars. Billions watched in awe for the first time. The galaxy did not laugh at humanity. It listened. When they surfaced, the galaxy kneeled. The storm clouds of Taraxis 7 slowly cleared as the human module floated beneath the twin suns. Steam rose from the waves, turning the sea into a glowing field of mist. Commander Holt stood by the window, his uniform torn, his face pale, but his eyes steady and bright. Dr. Cruz sat beside him, her voice soft. It's over. Holt shook his head slowly. No, he said, it's just begun. Above them, alien ships still surrounded the planet, but none dared to move, none dared to fire. The Leviathan's warning still echoed across every channel, across every frequency, across every mind. The galaxy had seen it. The humans had done what no other race dared. They had entered the forbidden depths, spoken with the Ancient One, and returned alive. As the human vessel ascended toward orbit, the alien fleet parted, not out of respect for command, but out of fear. Even the proud Trinax warships moved aside, their captains silent for the first time. The galaxy's oldest empires watched in awe as a human craft passed through their blockade untouched. On board, Holt activated the recorder. Mission log, he said. Expedition to Taraxis 7 successful. Data collected. Communication established with sentient life forms in oceanic depths. Designation Leviathan-class entity. He paused, then added quietly, Humanity proved that fear cannot drown us. Dr. Cruz smiled faintly. The Council won't like that report. Good, Holt said. Maybe they'll stop underestimating us. When the Voyagers' reach re-entered hyperspace, the galaxy followed every signal, every trace. Alien media channels flooded with disbelief. Headlines spread like wildfire across 1,000 systems. Humans spoke to a god beneath the sea. The Leviathan recognized humanity. The Deathworlders dived and returned victorious. The same races that once mocked them now whispered their name with reverence. On Trinax Prime, the laughter halls were silent. On Kelran stations, warriors who once mocked human frailty removed their helmets in respect. In the Council's golden chamber, the great ambassadors stood in silence as the recording replayed. The human commander standing before the Leviathan's eye, his voice calm, his courage unbroken, finally. The Trinax ambassador spoke, her tone low and trembling. I once called them fragile, she said. Now I see. They are water itself, soft when still, unstoppable when moving. The Kelran delegate nodded. They adapt, they endure, they rise. Across the stars, human colonies celebrated. Earth itself became a beacon of pride. Children watched the footage of the deep dive, pointing at the screen, their eyes wide. "That's us," one whispered. "We did that." Commander Holt and Dr. Cruz stood before the United Earth Council upon their return. Applause thundered through the chamber, but Holt only raised his hand, quieting them. "We didn't go to prove our strength," he said, his voice calm. "We went to prove our nature." He looked at the crowd, his words slow and clear. "The universe laughs at what it doesn't understand. But laughter fades when truth surfaces, and we, humans, always surface." The crowd erupted. The words carried across every human outpost, every fleet, every colony. It wasn't just a victory, it was a declaration. Humanity had faced the impossible and made the galaxy kneel. Not with violence, but with courage. Months later, a monument was built in the ocean of Taraxis 7. A tall silver spire that shimmered under twin suns, engraved with words written in both human and alien language. To those who dared the deep and found themselves, beneath that monument, something stirred, far in the depths. The Leviathan swam quietly through the dark, watching, protecting, remembering. As it passed beneath the silver light, it whispered softly, "Humans." The deep remembers. Back on Earth, Dr. Cruz stood by the ocean, feeling the breeze brush her face. She smiled as the waves touched her feet. "We showed them, didn't we?" she murmured beside her. Commander Holt looked toward the horizon, the sun setting behind blue waves. "Not that we could swim," he said quietly, "but that we never stop." The sound of the sea filled the air, endless and alive, and somewhere across the stars, millions of beings watched the footage one more time. The moment when humanity defied the galaxy's laughter and earned the respect of gods. And in that silence, even the stars seemed to bow.